everybody. Am I audible to you? Am I visible? If I am, then please let me know. Perfect. Very good. Thank you for moving from that classroom to this one. And as expected, just so many people showed up that that classroom was completely full. And I did not want to leave anybody behind because it's not every day that I do this. And it's such a great opportunity to meet everybody and to interact with you guys. So we did what we could and we increased the capacity to 300, which I can now see is also full. So this means that a lot of people will not be able to get in here as well. For them, a recording will be created, it is being created and it will be sent to them. So there are no worries. We knew something like this might happen. And so since it's happened, it's okay. If I am not audible clearly, there is probably something wrong with your connection, or probably not such a great connection, because I'm probably, yeah, I'm audible to most people. I'm audible to most people, it appears. Yes, it's clear. You might have to do something about your settings. There's nothing I can do about that. We'll just begin, right? We'll just begin. You would have noticed that the name of this class, the name of this class is you are a, there's a brilliant essay writer inside you, right? Now this is not a pedantic, feel good, cliched statement that I'm just throwing at you guys to make you feel good. This is in fact a testable hypothesis, and I would like to test this hypothesis today in this class. It is my belief, I believe that there is brilliance inside you, and I'm going to put it to the test. I want you to have a skeptical attitude towards this, and we'll actually try to figure out if this is the case, right? And at the end of the couple of hours or so that we have to interact with each other, we'll try to figure out if this is in fact the case. Why I have such a belief in this notion that there is brilliance inside you is because of some experience of my own. That before I go into the specifics of essay writing and so on and so forth, I'll share a lot of things with you today. I want to tell you why I do this, why I send you these lessons, why I create these videos, and why we are here today, why are we doing this masterclass? Well, because me personally, well, the school system completely failed me. Okay, I learned nothing in school or college. I hated the experience, and I did not enjoy the process. The entire education system and that entire effort was wasted on me, as I suspect it is wasted on a lot of you guys. It happens. It's not designed to open the mind, the education system. It's designed to have you go through it like a factory, it's a process. You go through it, but the goal of that process is to get you through the process. It's not to open your mind to the real issues of life. It doesn't teach you about life. And so I was one of those people, and I'm sure many of you can relate to that. Why are we doing this in the UPSC preparation niche? Why you guys? I could have broadcasted this to other people. Because when I went through the UPSC preparation, I realized something, and this is an insight which you should have. It will help you in the examination. The UPSC examination is a test of your re-education. They want to see, the UPSC wants to see how educated really you are, not educated according to the school system or the grading system. How educated as a human being are you? This is what they want to check. And since the school system hasn't really prepared us for it, the exam, it stumps so many of us. It takes one attempt, two attempts, maybe even more to get the hang of it. And that's because we don't understand what exactly we are being tested for, right? The UPSC examination is a re-education. It is a test of how educated you are as a human being. And that's why you have these questions, when they ask you in the mains exam, in the prelims exam, for example, they don't just ask you simple questions, they ask you application-based questions. They want to see how curious you are as a citizen. How aware are you? If they're going to ask you about cryptocurrencies, for example, cryptocurrencies, right? They will not ask you some obscure technical detail. They will ask you something very practical about what's going on. They will ask you something which is detailed, yes, but practically applicable and relevant. And this is a trend, a pattern that you'll notice everywhere. And it gets more pronounced as we go from the prelims, we go into the mains, you start to realize as you see those questions that what they're looking for is a very, very aware human being, right? Education is about our environment, it's about the ecosystem that we live in. And hopefully, it is about the way we can change that ecosystem. They're looking for leaders. They're looking for people who can change things for the better. And how can you change things for the better unless you know what those things are? And that's where all the examination and the elaborate uh, things that they ask you in that examination come into the picture. Now, why is this a masterclass? Why am I calling it that? I'm calling it that because it's unlike any other class, right? It's unlike any other class. It's not because I claim to be a master, not because of that. It is because this class is different. You see, I spent a lot of time thinking about education and how it should be done and how it possibly can be done better. There are some advantages to offline education, offline teaching. There are some disadvantages as well, obviously. There are some disadvantages to online teaching as well. What I want to do is take the benefit of both, right? What we have in our favor, even though I'm not in front of you teaching in front of a blackboard, is that we have technology, right? We are connected to the internet, which means that we are connected to the sum total of human knowledge. How we pick up on that knowledge, where we go to look for it, is something that we're going to harness and is something that you're going to see. That's why it's going to be a masterclass. But then there is something you must judge for yourself. The second thing, more importantly, is that there are going to be exercises. Every few minutes, perhaps 5 or 7 or maybe even more times, I will ask you to participate in an exercise. I want every single one of you to participate. Okay? Do not hold yourself back or feel that you will be looked down upon. There is no judgment here. We are all here to learn, and we are going to have a very good time doing it. That is a promise that I am going to make right now. Now, the way these exercises will be that I am going to ask you to input your responses in the chat. So let's see if that's working, although we've had some testing already about that. So um, are you aware of how to chat and where to input your responses when I ask you to? Yes, this is where you will type. Perfect. Perfect. Yes, perfect. Very good. Another thing that's going to happen, which I must tell you right now, your next assignment will be revealed in this class. I will reveal it towards the fag end of this class, and it's going to be very interesting. And what's been happening over the past few days or weeks since you've been in this program, this mentorship program, or even if you haven't, is that we've been building up to something. Have you noticed a sequence in the lessons? There's a logic there. I first told you about deconstruction, then I told you about brainstorming, then I took you into introduction. Yes. I chose topics which are general enough so that you understand certain things. And it's going to now lead to a kind of climax, let's say, and that will be revealed to you. So that's what's going to happen. That's what you can expect. I want to talk about something very important here, and we're getting into the details of the examination. And there's something I want to share with you, which I haven't shared with many people, except my batchmates and people that I know. You see, I've been in the job for quite a while. I have spoken to a lot of people, many colleagues, batchmates, everyone, seniors, juniors, whatever. I've come to understand that the UPSC examination has a foundation which is not clearly understood. That foundation is language. It is language. Have you noticed how they progress from stage to stage, from prelims to mains up to the interview? It's not only about language, it is about knowledge, yes, certainly, hard work, many other things, but there is a foundation which we need to lay here. Okay? That foundation is of language. It is language which you use to consume the content, whether it's history or economics or polity. And it is language that you use to write 27 hours, right? If I'm not mistaken, 27 hours worth of examination in the mains examination. You have pen and paper and you're putting the two together and writing 27 hours combined. I think 3 hours per paper, and I think you have about 9 of them, combining all the compulsory exams. And that just goes to show you how important language is. And it's not just the knowledge that you have, of course, that's extremely important. It's how effectively that knowledge is being conveyed. How precisely, how effectively is that being conveyed? And this makes perfect sense. They are testing you to be bureaucrats. Bureaucrats don't talk, they write. Okay? When you take a decision, when something important comes, when your job requires to be done, the job is not done verbally, it is done on file. It is done on pen and through paper and pen. And guess how much you get to write? Not a lot, even on very important matters, not a lot. It makes perfect sense that they ask you questions in the mains exam, they ask you questions in GS and so on and so forth with varying degrees of length. Write in 20 words, 100, 200 words, 600 words. Why? That's exactly the size that you require for a file noting. And more often than not, a file noting is you facing a complex issue, trying to simplify it. You try to distill it into that many words so that it becomes easier to make a decision on it, so that your superiors have an easier time processing it, so that the whole chain can work along and things can be done. That is my insight and my intuition after having done both of these things, the civil services examination as well as the job which it leads to. Now, on the topic of language, we are now going to go into the essay paper specifically, and I'll tell you why we'll do that. Why we'll do that. You see, it's a very powerful thing to have language and to understand what it means. And what I want to convey here, the biggest message that I want to convey here, bigger than the examination itself, is that you need to work on improving language, because language is equal to thinking. Okay, there is no difference between the two. If your language is clear, your thought is clear. If your thought is clear, your language is clear. And if one of them isn't working, then the other one will display that dissonance. It will reflect. Have you noticed that there are people who speak very clearly? Take for example Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev. I have no opinions about him. I'm not saying anything at all about him, but have you noticed his verbal intelligence, his clarity of thought? He's a very smart guy indeed, right? We require some of that factor, some of that X factor for ourselves. Okay. And in today's class, we'll try to do that. I'll try to give you a complete overview of how that thing works. And I'll try to impart as much of it as I humanly can in the time that we have. I told you that I'll be showing you certain videos, right? I want to show you a video by one Mr. Jason Silva. Jason Silva is one of the most verbally intelligent, linguistically gifted people I know, right? And the reason that this video will be shown to you, particularly one video from the millions of videos that are out there, I'll show you others as well, but why this one? I want you to notice how he uses language. I want you to notice how he uses repetition. I want you to notice how he uses expression. He's got some things to say which can be summarized in a few words, but he's going to say it in such a beautiful way that it is quite possible that it will give you goosebumps. Okay? Are you ready for that experience? And we'll go into that experience with the knowledge that if we can capture 1% of that magic that he has and put it in our essay paper, our score skyrockets. That's pretty much a guarantee. Okay? Are you ready for that now? Okay. So for that, I will have to share my screen. Let me do that. Here we are. Hmm. Okay. So the name of the video is "The World is Made of Words," right? And beautiful video. And I'll just let you have that experience and experience this. And
I am a lover of language. I use language to tile reality, to clothe reality in description and prose. Language, therefore, I become. I believe the world is made of words, and if you know the words the world is made of, you can make of it whatever you wish, said McKenna. And one of the coolest notions I've ever come across about the transformative and transporting power of language is the notion that words are not just descriptive, that words, in fact, are generative. Hold that in mind for a moment, my friend. That the use of language, the words you use to describe reality can in fact engender reality, can disclose reality. Words are generative. And so people often ask me, how do you memorize? Why do you memorize so many quotes? Because I do, man. They are, the wallpaper of my mind is full of prose. And I don't know by what act I actually put them into memory, but I can tell you that the reason that I love to recite quotes is because I believe that the quotes that resonate, the ones that give me goosebumps, the ones that make the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, are incantations. They are spells, right? There's a dream weaving and a sorcery that is employed, that is deployed through language. To speak is to enact an incantation, right? So my favorite quotes are these magical incantations, and as I recite, therefore I become. I recite, therefore I become. That makes perfect sense, right? This ecstatic articulation and empowered vocalization makes us what Walter Benjamin calls enraptured prose beings raised to the highest order. We create and perceive our world through language. We think reality into existence through linguistic construction in real time. We are made of language. And this concept is instantiated even in our biology. DNA is code. We are alphabetic all the way down. Our genes are software programs. Even the material world is made but of atoms programmed into certain instantiation. McKenna was right. The world is made of words, and if you know the words the world is made of, you can make of it whatever you wish. To take responsibility for this metaphysical tool. Employ language with discernment and intention and agency, and become an author of reality.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, he said author of reality. I don't know about you guys, but I was taking notes while he was saying those things he was saying. Yeah, it was amazing. One of the things he says, loathe reality in description. Such a beautiful metaphor. You know, you did not have to go read a book or go become a literate person or a literary person, go become an author or anything. You just saw a video, and if you know where you're looking for and what you're looking for, all the stuff right there is already there for you. You ask me, people ask me, students ask me, I don't have knowledge for the essay paper, I don't feel confident enough. Well, no wonder, because you don't know where you're looking, and you don't need to read a book to write a good essay. You just need your common sense and all this stuff which is out there for free. He had rhythm in his voice. You're right. You're right. He had rhythm in his voice. He used cadence. It was not extempore, mind you. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly. Yes, Karnika, he says words are not descriptive, but they're generative. What a beautiful thing to say. Become the author of reality. So that is the kind of stuff, that is the kind of beauty that we will be talking about, and hopefully instilling within ourselves and through us into the writing that we do, right? That's what I aim to do here. Jason Silva was very articulate, and he was talking about reality and how language flows reality, and he had a very broad message, right, to share with us. We got that. It was well received. But what does the UPSC want here? Let's focus on our objective. What the UPSC wants linguistically, they ask you directly in the essay paper. The essay paper is the one paper in which your linguistic requirements, which is one of the biggest things they're looking for, is mentioned explicitly. They don't faff around. They talk exactly about what they require in the essay paper, and they let you know this in the notification. Let me show this to you. The way I like to explain this is through an analogy, right? So let's assume for a minute, stretch your imagination for a minute, stretch your imagination for a minute, and assume that you go to a foreign land, you go to a foreign country or something, you go to a foreign country, and it's a strange country. They have different laws, different culture, different everything. You don't know all the rules. You do something wrong or say something wrong or something, they arrest you. They put you in jail, right? You're jailed abroad. Here's the issue. According to their rules and their regulations, you don't get a hearing, right? You don't get you don't get to argue face to face. You get to write a letter, one letter of appeal, which you must write and address to the judge. It is very clearly mentioned what the judge wants and how that letter should be written. The judge is looking for very particular things. He says, the judge wants you to keep closely to the subject. Don't waver around, don't talk about this or that, things which are not relevant. He wants your ideas to be arranged in an orderly fashion so that there is some form of a logic, some form of a sequence or a progression in your thoughts, right? There should be a very clear distinction when you move from passage to passage about what you're saying and how one leads to the other. This is flow and structure. We don't have time to get into detail, but this is enough to get a broad perspective. You must write concisely, use effective and exact expression. This is exactly what is mentioned in the UPSC. The UPSC examiner, you can imagine, is the judge. Think about it like that. The examiner is like the judge. This is the kind of language and expression he is looking for, he or she. Your job is to deliver. Have you noticed the thing which is not there? No emotional appeal. No emotional appeal. The other thing which is not there is no opinions as such. Balanced judgments, analytical things. We'll get into a lot of detail about these things. So let us now dive right into the nuances. Let us talk about essay topics and let's inform ourselves about how to think about this stuff, how to even begin, right? So we're going to talk about deconstruction, which is nothing but when you encounter a statement, you encounter a statement in the essay paper, the essay topic. The essay topic is a statement. You encounter the statement, that statement is going to be made up of two fundamental things. 99% of the time, it's two things. Sometimes, rarely, it's three things. Those can be distilled into two, no issues. Presume that all essay topics are fundamentally about two things. It's going to be a statement which describes basically two things. Your job is to identify the two things only. That is it. You know? At this stage, we do nothing else. And I like to use this visual analogy of the camera here, which you see. The camera is your essay topic. Now, on the face of it, it looks like a single object. It's a camera. But it is not a single object, is it? It is made up of a lot of intricate parts. Your job is to take those parts, to take that simple object, to take that statement, right? To break it apart completely and display all those parts in your essay for the reader to go through. So the reader understands that there is a lot of perspective, there is a lot of dimension which go into forming that statement of the essay. Your job is to organize it and put it out there in 1,000 words or so in front of your reader. Okay, so that's one very important thing to consider. I've told you what deconstruction is. You have to analyze and figure out what is thing one and thing two. It is time for an exercise now. We're going to do a live exercise. It is very simple. I want you to figure out what is thing one and thing two in this essay topic. This essay topic was asked in the UPSC paper this year in 2020. Yeah, very good. Yash, Harshit, very good. But write both of them together so I know that you've got it. Madhumita, very good. Abhay, yes, you're on the right track. Priyanka, perfect. Divyam, very good. Very good. Sophesti, simply very nice. Perfect. Muskan, very good. Jannat, perfect. Satvik, good. Manisha, very good. You got it. Perfect. This is too easy. I mean, I know you guys are way smarter than this. This is far too easy. Perfect. Ayal, very good. Palak, Simran, Vimal, perfect. Arya, Sneha, very good. Good. You can stop now. This was just a formality we had to go through. Just wanted to make sure you understand, the others understand. Our exercises will get more sophisticated as we go. I told you the essay topic is going to be made of two things, right? And this is written, mentioned in detail in my book as well as in your assignments, in your lessons, or even if you don't know any about any of it, that's perfectly fine. The message here, what I'm going to talk about now, is that those two things will be bound in some form of a relationship, which will be depicted in the essay topic. Okay, that is the heart of the essay topic. We need to figure out what that is. You need to be able to pinpoint very clearly. You said this is thing one, this is thing two. You perfectly analyzed it. You have to identify the relationship between thing one and thing two. What does the essay topic say it is? But there is something that I want to warn you about. There is something that I need to say here, which is pertinent. You see, I am saying find the relationship between thing one and thing two, which is at the heart of the essay topic. I am not saying you form your judgments or your opinions about that essay topic. At the moment, all we are doing is beginning to deconstruct and go deeper. We are forming no judgments. We are not agreeing with the essay topic. We are not agreeing with it. We'll go into a lot of detail about that in the coming minutes. But for now, as of now, in this stage, we identify the relationship between thing one and thing two so that we can work upon it. All we want is to identify no opinions, no judgments, no arguments, nothing. Okay, just a simple dissection. And since it's the heart of the essay topic, right, and you're going to now deconstruct it, you're going to be doing cardiac surgery in a way. So I want you to do cardiac surgery, identify the relationship between thing one and thing two for essay topic number one, asked this year itself. Life is a long journey between human being and being humane. Everybody knows thing one is human being, thing two is being human. Everybody knows that. What is the relationship in between the two? That's what I'm looking for. Just tell me that. What is the relationship between thing one and thing two? How would you put that relationship in a single word? What does it say? Somesh, evolution. No, that's not the, that's an opinion, Somesh. Najimuddin, character. Being a kind heart, compassion. No, not really. Tanya, no. Diksha. Okay. Dheeraj, transformation, experience. No. Okay. Let me rephrase my question here. The essay topic is simply saying life is a long journey between being human and being humane. The relationship is that thing one is being human, thing two is being humane, and one is the ultimate crux of the other, right? One is the destination, and it seems to be connected in some form of a journey, right? The word journey is used. That is the relationship. Rather simple and easy to understand. Let's take another one, for example. Mindful manifesto is the catalyst to a tranquil self. Mindful manifesto is the what does it say? Is the catalyst to a tranquil self. You know what is thing one? Thing one is mindful manifesto. Thing two, yes, Mohammed, it is catalyst. But the relationship is that one is the catalyst for the other. That's what it is saying. So when we do rough work, this will really help us. Two one is a precursor to T2. Yeah, that is more like it. Very good. Jigna, very good. Okay, Madhumita, trigger or primal cause. Arun, you say catalyst. Yes, Arun, but can you express that slightly in more number of words? Can you make a sentence out of that relationship? Amit, you're saying one increases the second. Okay. Kirtana, you're saying peacefulness is the tool. No, Kirtana, that is an assertion. T1 led to T2 ultimately is more like it. Mindful manifesto and catalyst means to an end. That's more like it. Yes, that too is dependent on first. Shikha, that is perfect. You got it. It is dependent on first. T1 accelerates T2. Very good. T1 speeds up T2. Perfect. Amog, T1 sparks T2. Perfectly fine. Lalit, very good. Cause and effect. Suraj, very nice. Yes, enhances the other. Now you're getting it. Ramit, very good. So Diksha, very good. Yes. T1 affects T2. Yes, perfect. Yes, yes. Now you get it. Now you get it. Perfect. This is what I wanted. T1 is interdependent. Well, Tanya, that's very general and most, you could say that for most essay topics. Here, something specific is going on. One is saying you have one and the other one is going to enhance the other. The catalyst is basically supposed to enhance a reaction, right? So you add that to the mix and you have something explosive, supposedly. To T1 fuse, Anushka, perfect. Fuse it. Directly proportional, Sharif, yes, you could say that. Sure. Akansha, okay, fine. No, that's very good, more than enough. These are basic things which we needed to go through. You can stop inputting your responses now. I know that you understood it. You've done very well so far. You are following, and we are able to have a. We're now going to go a little bit deeper. The essay topic ends up telling us something. It ends up saying something. But in this instance, it ended up saying that the mindfulness manifesto, whatever that is, it's actually a book. But the mindfulness manifesto is a catalyst to the tranquil self. That's a relationship. It has said something. It has asserted something. We have now understood what it exactly asserted. That is all we were doing so far. Now we come to the stage where we analyze and we try to figure out what all is encompassed in that statement. What all could it mean? What all does it mean? Because only when I know what it means, can I argue for it and I can argue against it. Can't do that without it, can I? I need to know what it is, and I need to know the other side as well, right? So the relationship in one of the essay topics, being human and being humane, is that life is a long journey and one leads to the other. You start with being human, and life is a journey which leads you to being human, and that is what it claims, it asserts, right? The other one said mindfulness manifesto is a catalyst to the tranquil self, which means that you take one, add the catalyst, and it leads to a tranquil self. Connected. What about the other side? Do we need to completely just outrightly agree with these statements? We do not, and we should not. There is always more than one side to an argument. An argument has many sides. You need to understand that when they throw these philosophical topics at you, when they throw these generic topics at you, these are not questions which have direct yes or no dichotomic answers. Okay? They are dilemmas. They are things to be analyzed. They are things to present a new perspective on, if you possibly can. We do not agree if life is a long journey between being human and being humane just yet. We just identified what the topic is saying. Whether we agree or disagree, we'll see later. We'll see now, right? There is something to say about arguments, because in an essay, especially into the body of the essay, when you write the content, the actual arguments are presented. This is where most people make the biggest mistake, I think, and they end up losing the maximum marks. They do not present arguments, they present opinions. We're not looking for opinions. We want arguments, okay? And we want arguments on both sides. We want both sides of the story to be considered. If I go back to the analogy of you being jailed abroad and you having to appease some judge and convince them for letting you out, think about it in a similar way. When you write the body of your essay and when you present your arguments, you are arguing with an imaginary debater. The debater isn't there and won't be there. You must argue and anticipate his arguments. You must refuse his arguments. You can't leave your essay just with the assertion and your opinions. Somebody else might have another opinion. You must show that I considered that opinion. It is not correct because of these reasons. That must come. Okay. If that doesn't come, it means you haven't understood the essay topic. You haven't really presented it in all its complexity. Right? That's what you really need to do. And the person I want to introduce to you now, who will tell you about this better than I ever can or anybody else can, he's a professional psychologist, a Canadian psychologist, Jordan Peterson. Some of you may have heard of him. Very, very prominent, popular person, and also one of the most eloquent persons I've ever encountered. This guy is so verbally smart that he speaks essays, right? He can recite essays extempore. It's unbelievable. And he's also very, very insightful. Another reason why I'm going to show you this video is because I want you to capture the way he uses language. I want you to capture the way he presents his case. Okay? So we'll just go in and we'll watch that video now. And I will have to share my screen. That. Yeah. So the video that we are going to watch is the art of argumentation. It's a rather long video. Probably won't play the full thing, but you'll get the gist of it.
How do you deal with situations where your words are likely to be used out of context, let's say, and that's a situation I've encountered. Well, you see, you encounter a situation like that very frequently. Everyone does in their life. Like if you're having a discussion with someone you live with, for example, so someone you have to be with for a long time, a lover, boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, sibling for that matter, you're going to have contentious discussions about how to move forward. And it's very frequently the case that your words will be, that you'll be straw-manned. Your words will be taken out of context. The other person, and you too, will try to win instead of trying to solve the problem. What you have to kind of decide is, well, two things. The first thing is, you're probably wrong in some important way. And you might think, well, so what? But no, it's not so simple. Being wrong in some important way is like having a map that doesn't correspond to the streets. If you're wrong in some important way, when you go to where you're going, you will get lost and you might end up in a neighborhood that you don't want to visit. So it actually matters if you're wrong. And so now if you're talking to someone who is acting in opposition to you, it's possible that during your contentious discussion, they will tell you something about how you're wrong that's accurate. Now you're not going to be very happy about that because like who wants to discover that they're wrong? But it's better to figure out that your map is inaccurate than it is to get lost. And so one of the things you have to remember when you're discussing things with people, even if they're out to defeat you, let's say, is that there is some glimmering of the possibility that you can walk away with more knowledge than you walked in with. And that can be worth paying quite a price for. You know, and so I've had the opportunity to engage in public debate of an exceptionally contentious nature for, let's say, 18 months, non-stop, fundamentally. And it's been very stressful. But the upshot of that is that my arguments are in much better shape than they were, and I shouldn't say that. My thoughts are much more refined than they were at the beginning of this process. It's not my arguments are in better shape. It's not the right way to think about it. Is that I'm clearer about what I know. I can articulate it better. And that's all forged in the heat of conflict. If you're discussing a contentious issue with someone you love and that you have to live with and put up with, you want to listen to them, because what you really want to do is establish a lasting peace. And you might even have to make their arguments for them. Maybe you're more verbally fluent than your partner, which doesn't mean, by the way, that you're right, more right. It just means you can construct better arguments on the fly. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're more accurate. You might have to help your partner formulate their arguments so that you can really get to grips with what it is that they're trying to say, so that you can alter the way that you're constructing your own narrative and your joint narrative, so that you're not butting heads unnecessarily as you move forward through life. It's not a very good idea to win an argument with your wife, right? That isn't what you want, because then you have a defeated partner. And a defeated partner is not happy. And a defeated partner is often out to reclaim the defeat. And so as a strategy for moving forward with someone who you're going to wake up beside, 5,000 times, it's not a very advisable strategy. It's better to listen, to flesh out the argument on both sides, and to see if you can come to a mutually acceptable negotiated settlement. And that's the case in most encounters in life, if you can manage that. So, but it's easy to want to win. One of the things I do in my psych.
So he said quite a bunch of very important things here. And what he said about you not wanting to win with your wife is exactly what you need to do in the essay paper and in the mains exam. You're not out there to win. It's not conflict. It is not Aaj Tak debates, which you have on the news channels here, where people just keep throwing opinions at each other non-stop for like 3 hours, and you get to have an entertainment going on, a reality TV sort of thing. No. When people in the UPSC, right, present you with these essay topics, it is not a small thing. It is a very complicated dilemma of sorts that they'll throw at you. You must argue, keeping both sides in mind. You cannot afford really to have an opinion. An opinion, when you combine it with the right kind of backup, with the right kind of foundation, becomes an argument. We'll learn how to do that now. That's coming up next. The essay paper is not about winning. It's about figuring out what the other side of the argument is, and hopefully coming to a synthesis. That we'll figure out as well, and that's going to be one of the exercises that we'll be doing. Another important thing that I want to stress here for a minute and to hammer in to you guys is that the essay paper and the ethics paper are tied together. There is absolutely no surprise in the fact that language is completely overwhelmingly important for both of them. In fact, I think when you get these, and they throw these dilemmas at you in the ethics paper, when they ask you about stuff, it's very much a matter of writing a miniature essay, putting your point across, perhaps in a more evocative way. But the ethical analysis remains. Yes, that always remains, never goes away. I think by now you're beginning to get a sense of what you must do in order to prepare for this. Whenever you make an argument, and now you are going to be making some arguments, there is going to be an exercise that will be coming up very soon where you'll be making arguments. Make no argument without using an LED. What is an LED? L stands for logic, E is examples, and D is data. If you have an opinion and you follow it up with either L or E or D, follow it up with logic or examples or a data point, that is an argument, acceptable argument. Maybe weak, maybe strong, no opinion on that yet, but no empty opinions without L or E or D, okay? Never, not even in the essay paper, and actually never in life as well, because that's what distinguishes you from being a well-informed, intelligent individual, rather than somebody who believes that their opinion is the final word. What Jordan Peterson said really did ring a bell in me. I don't know about you. He said there is an inkling of possibility that you would walk away from a conflict or from an argument knowing more than you did when you went in, that you are fundamentally wrong about something important. Assuming that, forces us to open our mind. It forces us to appreciate more perspectives. And this gets reflected in your writing, in the examination. There's no hiding it. Even if you are able to hide it, you will not be able to hide it in the interview. That's what they make you sit there for. Ask you these questions. They'll analyze it and they'll figure it out. How balanced your opinions are, how mature you are, will get figured out. There's no escaping that. There is something very interesting to be learned from one very interesting movie, right? Movie is World War Z. I don't know if you've seen it. It's science fiction horror. And something occurs in that movie which really struck me, and as something I want to share. And I show that clip of the movie also with you. So for those of you who don't know what's going on in this movie, is that there is an outbreak, okay, a virus outbreak, like the one going about right now. There is a virus outbreak, but except with the difference that this particular virus turns people into zombies. Zombies start attacking other people. As they bite other people, the virus spread. It has spread all across the world. The entire world is overrun. Okay, that's the plot of the movie. Our protagonist here, Brad Pitt, and we'll just go have a word with him as well. Brad Pitt is asked, he's tasked, right? His goal in the movie is to figure out where the virus began and to figure out ways of stopping it. So he discovers that only one country in the world has been able to contain the virus. That country is Israel. Israel has been able to contain the virus and is unaffected by it. He travels to Israel to figure out why, how. And I will show that clip to you. Patient zero. Looks like you've seen the movie. So, but what I'm talking about is not patient zero. It's the theory of the 10th man. It's very interesting. And it's a very interesting policy.
30s, Jews refused to believe they could be sent to concentration camps. In 72, we refused to fathom we'd be massacred in the Olympics. In the month before October 1973, we saw Arab troop movements, and we unanimously agreed they didn't pose a threat. Well, a month later, the Arab attack almost drove us into the sea. So we decided to make a change.
Change?
The 10th man. If 9 of us look at the same information and arrive at the exact same conclusion, it's the duty of the 10th man to disagree. No matter how improbable it may seem, the 10th man has to start digging with the assumption that the other 9 are wrong.
And you were the 10th man?
Precisely.
So, the policy of the 10th man, which saved the entire country from the outbreak, is an exercise in rational thinking. The policy says this: if 9 of the 10 people receive the same information and arrive at the same conclusion, it is the duty of the 10th person to disagree. Right? So what happens in this movie is that all around the world, the outbreak has begun. All around the world, the outbreak has begun, and they're getting transmissions from people that there is a zombie outbreak. And that's unbelievable. All of the 9 people presume that there is no zombie outbreak, it is something wrong. It is the duty of this person to disagree, so he investigates with the assumption that there is actually a zombie outbreak out there. And so Israel decides to build a wall, and so it's safe. It's an exercise in rational thinking. It is your turn now to become the 10th man. But this policy of the 10th man which saved them, does it ring a bell? Are you able to connect it to something which has just been going on in our country, in this world that we live in? Don't you think something like this might have been better for us with this second wave coming and killing so many people? Something like that was going on, yes. Had this been somewhere a rational measure, a rational way of making decisions, I don't know, no comments about what happened, but do you see the resonance and how important it really is, rational thinking? I'm constantly correcting and constantly saying this stuff to you because when you write Go write your answers in the essay paper, in the mains paper. These things will come to your mind and you will write better answers. If you pay attention to this stuff, it will change the way you prepare for the whole thing. And that is something I would really like to see. So, okay, this I probably will show you later. So we're going to go into an exercise now. We've been talking about this essay topic, being human and being humane. Yes. It is your turn to be the 10th man or to be the devil's advocate. The devil, do you know what the devil's advocate is? The devil's advocate is exactly the 10th man. The devil's advocate is supposed to argue against the group, right? Argue for the cause which is not popular. Okay. It will be your job to do that. And we're going to take the essay topic that you're familiar with, and that's it's so generalizable. It's such a nice template to work on. That will work on that. Being human, being humane. Life is a long journey between being human and being humane. That's what the essay topic says. And on the first view that I get when I read that topic, when I see it, is I'm inclined to agree with it. That's not rational thinking. No 10th man has entered the picture in my thinking. No devil's advocate is there right now. If I go ahead and agree with it, I have not done justice to the essay topic. I have just gone ahead and joined the herd. Always have the 10th man inside your brain somewhere, especially in essay topics. It's going to come out and rescue you more often than you can imagine. That will happen in life as well as in the essay paper, but that's something very useful that happens. So this is your exercise. This is what you need to do now. Let us assume that I am convinced that the ideal life is idealistic, right? We've been talking about being human and being humane. I'm convinced that life is the journey, and it's the only thing that is important for life in that journey is to be humane. So I have become completely idealistic. I believe that the end of life and the most important thing that I can do with my existence is follow values. Idealistic. I have become too idealistic. Your job is to disagree, is to convince me otherwise. You have to now present arguments. Don't write more than 1 or 2 words. Present arguments to change my mind. I believe that the ideal life is idealistic. Imagine that this is an essay topic or something that you have to disagree with. Now your job is to convince me that this is not the case, that I should not have this. How will you convince me? I will give you 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes to convince me against this notion. Remember what I told you about LED, logic, examples, data. Try to convince me otherwise. Ideal does not exist. Somesh, where is the LED, my friend? Where is the LED? No fun, you will surely falter. No LED there. I don't believe you. Gargi, you're saying. Gargi, that's an opinion. Where is the example? Okay, you use some example there, I see. Jannat, okay. Hypocrisy in person. Opinion. Priya, ideal life is made of. Who are you to say what the ideal life is? Convince me. I'm convinced. I don't agree with your theory, presumably. Ideal life results in us being overexploited. There is an exact definition. Change is continuous. Manisha, that's an opinion. I don't believe you. I'm completely convinced the ideal life is idealistic. Nothing can ever be idealistic. That's more like it. You're using environment in that. That's so good. Muskan, you're saying something which is no LED there. Where is the example or the Akshay Kumar? That's an example. Okay. Even if it might not be perfectly appropriate, but yes, you've got the idea. Okay, selfishness of the United States. That's good. Mother Teresa proved the statement wrong. Mother Teresa can be used. Mother Teresa proved the statement wrong. I think she proved it right. Don't you think? Don't you think she proved it right? She lived by this to a higher level than people can ever imagine. People embracing anti-natalism. Priya, that's a good one. Priya Agarwal, yes. Idealism myth. Oh, that's good. Vandana, yes. Now your arguments are getting better. Yes. We can take an example of country of growth, but how? Harshita, very good. Harshita, aspiration, what do you mean by that? It has to be elaborated a little. Yash, GDP, you'll have to explain to me what you mean. Doesn't convince me. Palak, imperfections are integral. That is more like it. Palak, now you're getting it. You've used two examples. Very good. Gandhiji and Bill Gates. Kartike, globalization versus nationalism doesn't convince me about changing my idealistic stances, right? Drishti, that's good. You're using examples there. Nationalism can be okay. Capitalism, very good. Sayali, one man's hero is another man's terrorist. Perhaps more compelling arguments are required. I'm not completely convinced. Doesn't make me change my opinions. Shariba, you're saying changing to technology, digital technology. No, Shariba, I don't agree. I'm not convinced. Dheeraj, yes, okay. Ritwik, okay. Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, but where is your argument, right? What about them? What about them? Monica, ideal life is idealistic, maybe for you. Yes, more like it. Vandana, very good. Bhagat Singh got out of idealism, but Vandana, what did he get into? You'll have to explain it to me. Gayatri, Gaza-Israel effect, but how does that make me change my idealistic stance? That is very good. That Tanya, that was logic that you used. You are saying that absolute morality does not exist. You are propagating moral relativism. That's good. I mean, I'll accept that as a good logical argument there. Harvanan, you are saying something which is okay, that's acceptable. Ritika, very good. Yash, Yash, Gandhiji was the person who did this literally. And I want you to convince me otherwise. Even if your opinion is something else, you're the tenth man. Remember that. You're the devil's advocate. Uma, you're saying okay, Subhash Chandra Bose, ideal restricted. Sayan, okay, that's okay, but that doesn't change my opinion. Hitler was opposite. So what, Shikha? Why should I be like him? Doesn't convince me at all. Imperfection in Ramji. Well, what imperfections? That might be a good argument if you can elaborate. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam was a really good example of this. You have to convince me otherwise. Morality is subjective. Shreyansh, yes, that I will accept as a logical argument. Perhaps more, Darshan, you're saying non-violent idealism versus national defense. Okay, I know I know that you're thinking in the right way. By looking at these responses, I know that that process has started. I know that you now understand what I'm saying. Yash, very good. Subhadeep, very good. That is a good example, Subhadeep, about oxygen crisis. But what about it? Pramiti, that's very good. Harshit, aspirations. Okay. Vidya, you're saying Martin Luther King is a very good example to use here, but perhaps in the opposite direction. Very good. Yash, Neeraj, Jannat, Nancy. Idealism is subjective. Sahil, Vandana, yes, you were getting it. Charutha, very good. Charutha, you'll have to elaborate on history. It doesn't make me convincing. I'm not convinced. Anya, everyone having different reality. Okay, good. Survival of the fittest theory, Madhumita, why? Why does that? Okay, but that might be a good argument, but only if you substantiate. It actually might be. You use Darwinian evolution, and that actually might be a very good argument. Ayushi, very good. Okay, perfect. Stop. You can stop. Very, very good. I can see that you're thinking in the right direction. I can see that what I'm saying is going in. And with that, we're going to go into a 5-minute break. Okay, 5 minutes, 300 seconds. We'll be back, and then we'll go into some very interesting discussion. Very interesting indeed. So I'll see you guys in 5 minutes. We are back from the break, and I hope you guys are as well. Am I audible? Everything is working fine? Okay, perfect, perfect. Speaking of other sides, speaking of the other side of the argument, we heard Jordan Peterson tell us about how arguments are not about winning. I want to tell you about the way to think about essay topics and also the type of questions that you get in ethics. Take a look at this image here. You have the young guy saying something, all good things come to those who wait. Okay. This is a perfect type of a statement which you can be asked in the UPSC. They just put something like that out there for you. Okay. The old person says, doesn't agree with his opinion and says he's something equally valid, equally true. Says, but time and tide wait for no one. You can't argue with that, can you? That he's right and they're both right. What's going on here? What is going on here? And how do we understand this? How do we take into consideration that there can be divergent opinions on something? That there can be divergent opinions on something. How can we do that? You know, there are two opinions about times and they change because the perspective changes. The young person says something which is equally valid, completely acceptable. The old one says something which is exactly the opposite, but also equally valid. What does it say to us? What should I, how should I inform my opinions about this? Right? And I should do it like this. I must understand, and you must understand that. Am I not audible? Am I audible to you? Clear. Perfect. You must understand that these are not dichotomies. There are no yes or no answers. It's a spectrum. Okay? It's a spectrum. It's like a rating of something from 0 to 10. You lie on maybe 6 or maybe 2 or maybe right in the middle at 5, but it's a spectrum mostly that you're dealing with in ethics as well as in essay, and in fact most of the time in life. You form an opinion about something, easy to do that, easy to do that. Not so easy to look at the other side, not so easy to identify your own biases, not so easy to listen to the other person's arguments and to figure out what they're saying. But this is exactly what you must do with an imaginary person in the essay paper. Okay, that is something to hold in your mind. Let that thought inform you when you attempt writing essays. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to do just that. Okay. I want to go into a live exercise now. Okay. I want to go into a live exercise where I want you to convince me now of the other side. You tried to convince me that I should not be idealistic. I got convinced. I now believe you. I have completely changed my stand. I have completely turned my opinions around 360 degrees. And now I believe that the best life is the practical life. You convinced me. You have succeeded. But you are still the 10th man. You are still the devil's advocate. Your job is now to convince me back to the other side. That is what you must do now. I'll give you 2 minutes. I want to see your arguments. Why should I not now believe that the best life is the practical life? Why we are doing this is because it's going to challenge you. It's going to push you out of your comfort zone. Am I not visible? I should be visible. Everything is working fine. Shreyansh, you are saying something. Human is a social being, compassion is must. Shreyansh, where is the LED? Logic, example, data. I don't believe anything without LED. Life is to strive for perfection. Muskan, maybe you think so, but maybe I don't. Sahanaj, Mother Teresa, they are perfect examples, but they are perfect examples of the, okay, they are, okay, you're trying to convince me of the other side. Okay, I'll accept it. Paras, don't ignore realistic. Okay, okay, fine, you use examples there. Diya, what about Sushma Swaraj? You'll have to explain. Straight trees are always cut off. You mean to say, Rahul? Okay, acceptable. You want to make a point there, Anurag? Like you're saying, life that is spent ideally gives ideal results. Rahul, why should I believe you without an example? You'll have to show me somebody who did that and got the ideal result. I will argue, you're saying Gandhiji, I will argue that he did not get the ideal results. He was not happy with the way things turned out and he was shot dead. I can have many arguments against what you are saying. A soldier's duty, Sheikh Tahil, what does that mean? You'll have to explain it. That's more like it. Aditya, I saw that. Ritika, if we are practical, we'll have to be economically, but not necessarily. Not necessarily. Rahul, you're saying Yemen crisis, you'll have to explain more about that. Ankit, you are saying being practical is not possible because of relatives. I don't agree. It's got nothing to do with anything. Snatches empathy. That is very good. You said it snatches empathy. It will erode away my empathy. Okay, I can accept that. I can accept that. Albatros. Practically not every time everybody succeeds. Rabindranath Tagore said something. Yeah, okay. Shubham, you're saying India sending vaccines. Okay, okay, I'll accept that. That's Arun. Very interesting that you mentioned UPSC itself. You can write movie references, but I would avoid it. That was for your understanding. Please don't mention movie references because not everybody would have seen the movie. We'll talk about those things later. Shreya, you're talking about technology and you use it. Okay, fine. Shikha, very good. Shashank, Neha, Shiva, Neeraj, very good. But why? Practicality will erode ethics is a very good argument to take, but doesn't work without your substantiations. I need to know why. Very good. I'm reading some very good ones here. Yes. Akshita, very good. No, Akshita, but why? International relationships, what is that supposed to mean, Simran? Why will that change my opinion? Honestly, sometimes leads to humiliation. Is that why I should UPSC cleared? He wrote ethics because ethics are based on ideology. Suraj, okay, I'll accept that. Hemangini, very good. Vandana, if the constitution is following idealism, then why should I? Why? I am saying practical life is the best life. Why should I not follow this? This is my motto in life now. You have to convince me otherwise. Facts can make us strong. Yes. What facts are you going to present which will make my assertions weak and yours stronger? Reality to ideas in mind. Abhay, you are saying something interesting. Okay, Swami Vivekananda, I'll accept that. Needs to improve, you need polishing, but I think you are getting there. Jigna, okay. Jigna, that's more like it. That's a good argument. It's okay. Gargi, good. Amrul, you're saying practicality, okay. Ashwarya, you're saying something, oh, okay, I accept that. Tariba, human is a social being. That's a logical argument. But you saying human being is a social being, and I can't have just zero empathy. Okay, pure practicality can correspond to zero empathy. So that's a good logical argument. That's very good that you did that. Demand on basic needs. Kavya, you're saying risk-taking abilities. Okay. Practicality, don't care much about people around you. But that is what I'm saying, right? Why should I care? You have to convince me to care. The best life is different for everyone according to Shri. What do you mean? A human being is 97% spiritual. How can you say that? What makes you say that? Why is that? Where did that come from? It needs to be substantiated. It needs to have reason. It needs to have some solid ground. Buddha, okay. Buddha, you're appealing to authority. Okay, fine. Buddha is very big authority, so we'll accept it. All countries are fighting together in COVID crisis. Practicality does not allow for sustainability. Good argument. Good argument there. If I'm all practical and everybody becomes all practical, then what happens to the world? That's your argument, I suppose. That's a good one. But you'd have to be more, elaborate. You'd have to elaborate on that. Emotions cannot be dealt practically. I'm saying why have emotions at all? I just want to be practical. I just want to get what I am looking for and obtain it without with psychopathic means also. I don't care. Why should I not do that? Practical, ignore emotions. Priya, yes, it will lead to the death of my emotional self, right? I am a social being, an emotional being, a spiritual being. I am a complex creature like everybody. If I am all practical, if I am nothing but logic, then where is my humanity? Then I'm missing something out. Being all practical is a bad idea. This is the logical argument coming. It's a bad idea because you steal stuff away from your own existence. You are doing yourself a disservice by being completely practical. That is the kind of stuff I want you to think about. That's more like it, Nancy. Very good. Anushka, very good. Charutha, good. You're getting there. Gargi, yes. Madhumita, very good. Shabnadar, okay. Madhumita, but okay, fine. Mohammad Danish, you're saying mhm, a balanced life is important. Divyam, yeah, Yashasvi, yes, I've noted it. Very good. Sayan, you're saying this practical aspect you are highlighting. Nikola Tesla, what about him? What about him? He was very idealistic, by the way. Not he was not a practical guy at all. He died alone in a hotel room. All he cared about was his work and science. Yeah, hotel room. Golden mean between practical and ideal life must be obtained for maximum benefit. Suraj Kumar. Aditi, you're saying, okay, Aditi, I'll accept that. Yes. Yash, India and second wave you're using. Shubham, be careful with that. It's controversial. PJ, practicality kills innovation. I like that. Very good. Very good. Bureaucracy is completely theoretical. No, it's not. Indeed, completely not. Not at all, in fact. Won't excel in social life by practicality. I could excel exceedingly well by being absolutely practical. Many people do it. It's called networking. Practicality will make us function like machines. Okay, but what's the issue with that? What do I end up losing? Okay, very good. Stop. You can stop. Very well done. Your thoughts are really beginning to. They're changing. They're changing the way you were doing it before, and what you're doing now is changing quite a bit. You're doing very well. Very well, but stop for now, and we'll go ahead. And I want to share some very interesting things with you. Very interesting thing. We are back on that topic. We've had extensive discussion about morality. You first tried to convince me that I should not be completely idealistic. I got convinced with you by you. You had some good arguments. You presented examples. You presented data, some very good logic. I could not resist. I conceded. Later, we had more discussions about you trying to convince me that I should not be all practical either. Yes, you did that also. You convinced me again. I have now, I don't know what to do. I'm now confused. Should I follow ideals? Should I follow practicality? What am I supposed to do? What I'm looking for and what the essay topic is looking for, what you will be looking for, and what you must do is form a synthesis. A synthesis. There might be some people who are aware of Hegel, philosopher. We don't care about him. We don't care about what he said, but we care about one of his ideas. You see what happens, and Hegel said that the entire universe works on one principle. He had a notion of cosmic evolution happening, whatever. He says there is thesis, there is antithesis, they combine, a new solution emerges, that is synthesis. Everything in the universe follows this principle according to Hegel. We just want to take this principle. We are interested in synthesis. I don't want to be all practical and I don't want to be all idealistic. It's easier to say that I should be balanced, but what does that mean, balance? What do you mean by that? How can you define that? I don't agree with it. There has to be something substantive. There needs to be a closure. I need closure for my confusion. I need closure for my vacillating between these two poles. And that synthesis needs to be something more than just saying balance. Okay, that's what a synthesis is. Synthesis is something new. It's not contained in thesis and it's not contained in the antithesis. It's contained in the synthesis. Something new emerges. We've been talking at length about morality and ethics. A lot of important information and stuff has already gone your way. I'm going to now show you a video by Kurzgesagt. Kurzgesagt, if you don't know, you should know, makes one of the best videos on YouTube ever. One of the best explanations that you can find in the world are made by Kurzgesagt. Kurzgesagt is a German word. It means in a nutshell. They make these beautiful animated videos where they explain complicated things. These 5-10 minute videos they have. You should watch them. They will really inform your conceptual understanding of quite a number of issues. I'm sure many of you must be aware. Now, this video from Kurzgesagt that we're going to watch is the perfect synthesis to this debate that we've been having over the past 1 hour, 2 hours. Perfect synthesis. And something new, something that you don't expect, something that I'm not prepared for. And we're going to see how it happens. But before we see it, I want you to pay careful attention to the way the argument is presented. Okay, Kurzgesagt is going to present an argument. This is an argument. It's a selfish argument to be a better person. It's a very interesting argument. But note the way it is presented. He will talk about data and he'll have points for you. He'll have arguments and he will completely convince you that there is a synthesis to this. To everybody's surprise, it will appear. So pay very close attention. I don't know about you guys, but I have a pen here and a paper here, and I take notes. And you should also. And by notes, I mean anything pertinent that you hear, which is good enough to be written down, which you'd like to have in front of you, because you know there is going to be an exercise about it sooner or later. By now, you will have understood that, picked that up. I won't reveal when it will come, but it will come. So, Kurzgesagt video is now coming up, and it is going to be a synthesis. The reason that I'm going to be showing this to you is this is exactly the stuff we need to put in the conclusion of our essays. Beautiful synthesis. So here goes. This is a selfish argument for making the world a better place, egoistic altruism. I have no idea what it's going to be. Well, I know, but let's presume that you don't. And let's just listen to his argument. Let's presume that it's Kurzgesagt now trying to convince us.
Until recently, the vast majority of the world population worked on farms, and the total production of the world's economy was mostly the total agricultural output. And this output was limited by the fixed size of the land. The total output of the economy did not change a lot year by year. The size of the pie was fixed. The world was a zero-sum game.
That, by the way, is the logical argument, the L in the LED. He's presenting you with a powerful logical argument. Take a note of that.
In such a stagnating world, the only way to get better off is if someone else gets worse off. If you take a bigger piece of the pie, someone else's gets smaller. If you want more food, then conquering, plundering, and stealing are great strategies. Your neighbor's loss is your gain. This was the state of things for thousands of years. Societies invaded each other constantly to get more pie. Economic inequality was extreme. Some had all the pie they wanted, while others had to live with the crumbs. Then the Industrial Revolution happened, and everything changed. We developed machinery, better crops, better fertilizers. Agricultural output skyrocketed. But we didn't just produce more food, every industrial sector exploded in terms of productivity. From 1700 to 1870, the production of iron in Britain increased 137-fold. The Industrial Revolution led to a previously unimaginable increase in economic output. This altered the nature of our societies. Economic growth changed the world from a zero-sum game to a positive-sum game. We had found a way to create a bigger pie. But not only a bigger pie, but a pie that was growing bigger each year. More people could have more at the same time. This development is spreading and continuing today. Antibiotics kill bacteria, power plants deliver energy, cell phones connect us, planes let us travel cheaply, fridges store food. Continuous progress in all sectors of the economy seems normal to us today, but the change from stagnation to economic growth really was the most drastic shift in human history. How was this possible? At the very core of this massive transformation stand new ideas that lead to innovation. Innovation has many different definitions, but in the context of this video, we mean better solutions to existing problems and solutions to problems we didn't know we had. The more you innovate, the more complex and interesting problems you discover as your wishes and needs evolve. The average citizen in Norway 250 years ago might have wanted some really good shoes. 150 years ago, maybe a bicycle. 80 years ago, a car. 30 years ago, cheap air travel. And so on. Once we get what we want, we don't stop. We can see how we can improve things even more and how to make things even better. The new positive-sum world has existed for 0.1% of human history, and we have yet to get used to it. It has a consequence that feels really unintuitive. In a positive-sum world, it's in your personal, selfish best interest that every human on planet Earth is well off. It's good for you if people in obscure parts of countries you've never heard of are prospering. There is a genuine, selfish argument for making the world a better place. In a positive-sum world, the more people are well off, the better your own life is. This is because of the nature of innovation. It is fundamentally driven by supply and demand. The supply increases when more people have the freedom and education to contribute. They become inventors, researchers, engineers, or thinkers that come up with new ideas. The demand for ideas increases as people get richer and can pay for new solutions. They increase the size of the market for innovations. Innovation follows incentives. So naturally, if many people want and can pay for something, it will get the innovator's attention and energy. Improving the lives of those who are worst off has a multiplying effect. It increases demand for ideas while at the same time making it easier for ideas to be produced. Let's take an example that interests all of us, a cure for cancer. If there are 1 billion people in the world that have the wealth to pay for cancer treatments, innovation will follow this demand. So hundreds of billions of dollars have been invested in medical research. This had a huge effect, but we're still nowhere near to curing all forms of cancer. Today, every 6th person in the world dies of cancer, and you might be one of them. Now imagine if demand were higher. Imagine instead of 1 billion people being able to pay for a cure for cancer, there were 4 billion or 7 billion. Imagine how far medicine could have developed if we'd invested 7 times as much in curing cancer. On top of that, there's so much human potential being wasted right now. The work of a poor farmer in a developing nation is not useful to you, but if he becomes better off, his children might spend their time in university developing things that are useful to you. Instead of having some hotspots of innovation in the developed world, we would have many hotspots all over the world. The research output of humanity would be many times what it is right now. Could we have cured cancer by now if that were the case? Well, maybe. If we spent 7 times as much on research, had 7 times as many people working on it, and a global network of medical research, things would certainly be further ahead than they are now. And this is the core of the argument. The more people want the same thing that you want, the more likely you are to get it. That is what it means to live in a positive-sum world. You don't gain more pie if poor places stay poor. Instead, you get more pie if poor places get richer, contribute ideas, and grow the global pie. Do you like space travel? Imagine there were billions of people in Africa and Asia with their own space programs and demand for satellites and moon bases and cities on Mars. Do you like being alive? A few billion people paying for medical research could literally save your life. It's in your interest for people around the world to become better off. The faster we get to this version of the world, the better for you personally. No matter what your motivation is, working on a better world is a very good thing to do. For others, and for you. This video was a collaboration with Max Rosa and Our World in Data, and supported by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Now, how did that make you feel? That was a very compelling argument, was it not? Very compelling. That's the quality that a synthesis has. Yeah. If you have hit upon a good synthesis, this is the kind of stuff you would like to put in a conclusion, or perhaps towards the later half of your essay. But most definitely in the answers that you write in ethics, and 100% when you are going into that interview, right? This is the stuff we're looking for. And I would have gone into a lot more detail, in fact, if I had more time, but there is more ground to cover and more interesting things to be said about that. But let me take in fact, okay, let's do this. In fact, indeed, those arguments that you heard, did he use logic? He used explosive logic. Explosive logic was used. Compelling logic was used. Absolutely logical and undeniable reasoning was presented. The world becomes a better place if everybody else is better off. It is no longer a zero-sum game. It is a positive-sum game. Right? That was the core of that argument. Did he use examples? Extensively. Cancer research, he used plenty of others, Norway, this and that, God knows what all he used. Did he use data? He used data extensively, in fact. You had those examples from, and not only did he use static data, he was using data to drive a point home. Yeah, and it really did go inside. You could actually literally feel it. That is a compelling argument. And that is the stuff we want to put in the body of our essay, right? Now, there are two things here, two important elements which make perfect when combined: the beauty and the beast. When I say the beast, I am talking about that logical machine, that logical sequence, that sequential process that we go through. And these logical things we keep throwing, like he did, like Kurzgesagt did at you, right? He had a very logical argument for you. He used logic examples, data. He did not have the beauty that Jason Silva had when he was talking about words, right? Did you notice that? It was flat. The monotone and the monologue that he had was very compelling. Yes. Beautiful. Probably not. Probably not. There is no poetic element there. No poetic element there. No elegance as such in the language that was used. It was direct to the point. It hits you, you take it, and you're done. Okay, so I am sold, I'm convinced. What if, and this is required, do you want to see the same type of argument for being more humane, for being more ethical, for being less selfish? Do you want to see, yes, it's not evocative, very good. Do you want to see the same thing said in an evocative way, in a more emotional, beautifully presented way? Would you like to see that? Fine. Fine. I will show it to you. What I will show you now is a visual essay. It's a visual essay. I'm going to share my screen and show it to you. It's because it's just too good not to do, too good not to actually get into. So we'll just see that. Right. This is a visual essay called Being Human. And it is exactly, if the Kurzgesagt video was the beast, then this is the beauty. The same argument made in a completely different way.
To be human? What shapes our humanity? Whatever the answer, one thing seems certain. Our human essence can only be fully revealed and honored once we recognize and confront what takes it away. What is it to lose one's humanity either through the violence of fear and oppression or through the violence of self-consuming hatred? How is it to become property, to become a tool, to exist only to serve the wills of injustice and exploitation, not to have a voice, not to be embraced? How is it to be wrapped by webs of anger, bigotry, and violence, seeing nothing but enemies, without rest, without peace? Confronting these questions may be our only road to redemption. But opening oneself to learning requires the courage to face our sins and the destructive powers of both our silences and our misdirected words and actions. Institutional and social structures of racism, discrimination, oppression, and violence, these are not petrified fossils of bygone eras. Rather, they are monsters of vile ignorance, traveling through time, reshaping themselves into new, more palatable narratives and behaviors of the day. To learn about them and to recognize them for what they are is to bear them naked, defeated. So, let us visit history, learn about the ways in which it reaches to the present, and have the dignity to change our future. Let us take a stand. Let us march with the ties of history in the name of our humanity. Let us reshape the idea that us, not them, could ever be an acceptable call for division and hierarchies of domination. Instead, let us proclaim that there are only us, all of us. There are no them. Let us elevate ourselves beyond the narrow confines of our righteous cocoons of self-assigned certainties. Let us embrace each other, care for each other. Let us declare once and for all that at its most profound core, our humanity lies within the sacred palettes of our diversity, and all our palettes are equally worth and incredibly beautiful. But let's not gloss over the realities of inequities, to which some among us have been brutally exposed for so long in ways that many of us may not even fully comprehend. Enough is enough. Time has come for us all to uphold, cherish, and protect our shared humanity.
Now that was, again, something really astonishingly beautiful, I would say. Astonishingly beautiful. Really heart touching. Yeah, it touches you. It touches you. Very well said. It's brilliantly presented and it's very evocative and it's very poignant. But, 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 no examples, no data, right? Very philosophical, very, very monsters of vile ignorance. Beautiful words. Now, I want you to imagine this. You saw the Curse Desert video, pure logic, beautiful logic, compelling logic, hard, cold logic. You saw this visual essay, pure beauty. Yeah? Combine them, if you can combine them. Imagine this. I picked up this line and I just wrote it just now. He said somewhere in the middle, let us embrace the fact that there is no us. All of us know them, right? What a beautiful conclusion. Let's presume that you write your essay and you write those compelling arguments by Kurt Gazette about how the world is a better place, not a zero-sum game, positive sum game, and you end with something like this. Inject these words in the middle. Let us embrace the fact that there is no us, all of us. There is no them. There is only us. That's a powerful ending, don't you think so? Don't you think so? Not only is it evocative, it says a lot in a very short amount of words. And I wish I had more time and I could get into the details of these things, but right at this moment, I can't do as much. But definitely, I think give you a tour of how the beauty and the beast they go together. They go together. I have this common question which people ask me about quotes and poetry. Should you use quotes in the essay? Should you use poetry in the essay? So on and so forth. I keep getting this question incessantly. And my answer is this: it's not required, it's not necessary, and it is definitely not mandatory. It is a device for beautification, it's a device for embellishment. It's something you can do if you know how to do it, if it fits perfectly. If done perfectly, which is it's a big if, it's not always easy to do, it can be a very powerful thing. Now the question comes, what kind of quotes? What kind of quotes should you have? Is to catch the kind of quotes which are going to serve us the best in the UPSC exam, right? The quote should have four qualities: WASP, WASP, the four qualities which you require if you're going to use or choose a quote and spend and invest your time in. V stands for versatile. Okay, the quote needs to be versatile. If I remember one quote, I should be able to use it in 5 essays. I don't want to remember 5 essays in the hopes of using it in a single essay, which may never come. I want to use one quote. I want to use it across the board. I want a versatile quote. A stands for authoritative. I don't want a quote from Maya Angelou or Margaret Mead or some obscure researcher which nobody knows about. Okay, because there are billions of people who are alive and billions of people probably worth quoting. We want to quote from massively authoritative sources, massively authoritative, iconic people only. Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, that level of people. We use their quotes because here we cannot cause controversy. You quote something from Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King, there is very little scope for controversy, right? There is very little scope for putting somebody off, for offending somebody. Very unlikely that that will happen. So authoritative, very authoritative people only. Aristotle is authoritative. Plato is authoritative. S stands for short. Why? Why should it be short? Well, it needs to be short because I don't want to mess it up. And I don't want to spend a lot of time memorizing it, putting it in my head, right? I want a very short, nice quote. It is easily injectable anywhere I want. It should be authoritative. It should be versatile and so on and so forth. So it needs to be short in duration. You don't want 50 words because, mind you, always remember it's a 1,000-word essay that you're playing with. No more than that. Okay. At best, you're going to have enough space to inject maybe 10 words or so of a quote, if at all you find the right opportunity and the right space for it. P stands for pithy. Pithy. Pithy is a quality of a statement if it conveys a lot of meaning in very short amount of words. That's pithy. Okay. Like when he said in the visual essay that we just saw, he said, there is us, all of us know them. Very pithy statements, very pithy, right? So these are the kind of quotes we require. Now, do you guys want a list of quotations or PDF? Okay, I will I will email this to you. I will email this to you. Fine. Some of you may already have it. Yes, I have compiled a list of such codes which have these four attributes and which you can safely assume that will be very handy. If you are going to spend time on doing this, it might as well be from that list, and I will send you that list. Here's another quote, a very useful quote, which contains all of these qualities. Nelson Mandela is the speaker of that quote, the person who did what he did, and a very popular, iconic human being, internationally significant, spent 27 years in jail. It says, may your choices reflect your hopes, not your fears. That's it, full stop. How many words is that? That's about, I think, 8 or 9 words. Doesn't even cross 10. And it says so much. That's pithy. That's pithy quote. That's a useful quote. That's a versatile quote. That's a short quote that is worth using in pretty much any circle. I mean, you could use that in being human, being humane. You could use that in simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. You could use that in pretty much any type of essay that you encounter. Is it not? Very easily usable, versatile. That's the kind of stuff I want you to catch. And while we're on the subject of quotes, I'm also going to address something about poems, poetry. I don't know what you think about poetry, but poetry is linguistic beauty. It's linguistic beauty. Okay. And what we're going to do is here, we're going to hear a poem now. We're going to hear a poem which inspired Nelson Mandela. It inspired Nelson Mandela to do what he did, spent 27 years in jail, right? And then came out of it, fought apartheid, segregation, and then he did what he did, right? Invictus, yes. Karwana is a smart guy. Muskan also, smart girl. But the way and why we will listen to this poem called Invictus, recited by none other than Morgan Freeman, is because of the way language is used. Again, I want you to pick up on that language. I want you to pick up on the way it is said and the way rhythm and cadence is used. I don't want you to write full poems in your essay. I want you to pick up the beautiful words, right? The beautiful metaphors. Pick them up and inject them in your essay. Inject them inside the logical arguments so that you have the best of both things, Beauty and the Beast. Okay? So we're going to now go ahead and see this. Hear that recitation of that poem right now. Okay, right.
Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I think whatever God there may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of fate, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears, there looms but the shadow of the shade. Yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. Matters not how straight the gate, how punishment charged the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Was that not something really amazing? We, we heard the poem by Invictus, read out by Morgan Freeman. That was some really inspirational stuff. I don't know about you. I kind of almost had goosebumps while listening to that. It's just because the words were put together so beautifully. Yes, Vipul and Ram Kishore, unbowed, inspiring, unbowed. Those words that he used, those metaphors. I tried to steal some of them, and I think you should too. Here's what I got like four things out of that video when I took notes just while you were watching it. Unconquerable soul. What a beautiful way to say that the body may die, but the soul does not die. It's really a good way to raise your voice or to assert yourself in the face of tyranny, which Nelson Mandela must have faced. He faced tyranny, he faced authoritarianism, discrimination, segregation just because of the color of his skin. Imagine how that would make him feel. 27 years spent in jail. You get only one life. And just because of the color of your skin, you spend it behind bars. And the way he channels that energy, that anger, and how beautifully it's reflected in that skin. You can do whatever you want with me, but the soul remains unconquerable. Another beautiful thing he said there, bludgeonings of fate. Bludgeoning means beating up, hammering, beating. Bludgeonings of fate. We have quite a bunch of interesting uh, things that were said here, but it's what you pick up upon and what you can use. If I am writing an essay about being human, being humane, if I'm writing about simplicity being the ultimate sophistication, if I'm writing about any of this stuff, I can inject these words in the middle of my logical arguments, so to speak. Unconquerable soul, somewhere, if it fits. Bludgeonings of fate, right? I can do that. And it will add such a lot of value to my essay. And that's what I want you to do as well. You're right about that. My head is bloody but unbowed. Unbowed. That was absolutely phenomenal. I think one of my best favorite moments. One of my favorite moments. My head is bloody but unbowed. And combine that with when he uses bludgeonings of fate. So he's not saying that the head is literally bloody. He's using a metaphor. It's the bludgeonings of fate and circumstance that have caused him a lot of hurt. But that does not mean his head is bowed. It does not mean that he gives in. It does not mean that he's given up. He has an unconquerable soul. His head is bloody but unbowed. What a beautiful way to say it. And then he ends with something like this: I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. What a beautiful way to put an end to that thing, you know. And there are some layers of metaphors that are being used here. Captain of my soul, right? That symbolizes that we're in sort of a journey, and life is a journey. We're flowing through it, and this body is a vessel. It's a vessel. It's like a ship or something, and I can steer this ship. Okay, I can't drive it around wildly, but I can definitely steer it. I am the captain of my soul. That's a beautiful way to put it, and that's an example of beauty which I wanted to share with you. You want to do another live exercise because we're going to finish up now. We are about to finish up, and I think we are crossing a certain critical threshold of time here. So we'll do that. We'll do that quickly. The exercise is very simple. The essay topic under consideration that we've been talking about since the beginning of the class, it's been our theme, it's been our template. We have explored many dimensions using that. Is life is a long journey between being human and being humane. That topic actually encompasses ethical debates, it encompasses philosophical essays. So we've been using it very versatilely. We've been using it to understand a bunch of other things and also to get an insight into the UPSC examination. Now, within the context of that essay, being human, being humane. Life is a long journey between being human and being humane. I want you to use this particular quote by Aristotle. It is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. You just heard Nelson Mandela and in their poem Invictus say something to this effect. I mean, something, but not exactly. I want you to use this quote in the context of the essay, being human and being humane, being human versus being humane. Try to insert it. Don't worry about being right or wrong. Don't worry about getting it perfectly. Don't worry about that. Attempt it. Try it. Think about the context. I know that it's not easy to think on the spot, but this is exactly the situation you will be faced in the exam. You'll have a few quotes in your head and only a few seconds to be able to put it in its right place if you can find it. Can you use this quote? It is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. Amit, okay. Yash, okay, I see it, but I don't see the quote. Paras, you're saying being human is like the light we must. Very nice, Paras, you're very good. Ramit, you're doing very well here. I see that you've used it very nicely. Akshita, very good. Jigna, very good. You used the pandemic. I was expecting that. Harshit, where is the quote? Try to insert it. Maybe you can abbreviate the quote. You don't need to write the whole thing. Maybe you can try doing that. Anurag, very good. The journey to being humane needs light. Hence, okay, you've connected it. Very nice. You did not use the quote as such, but you used the wordings of the quote. Very good, Aditi. Transformation and a person transfers. But where is the quote? Ritvik, you're saying Abraham Lincoln lost 10 times, saw the light. Very nice. Good example and quote both you have inserted. Good. Priya, yes. Aryan, difficult time will pass. Aryan, but the quote isn't there. This too shall pass is a good quote, Mohammed, but we are supposed to use this one. You know. Aha, that's more like it. Manmohan, good. The day's change is the only constant. Fra. Gargi, you're okay. Gargi, I accept that one. That's a good one. You're using it in the context of the pandemic. Tejas, okay. Shashank, very good. Palak, uh, Shubham, where is the quote? I know you use word from the quote, but the quote isn't there. Humanity works. Okay. Shambhavi, Shambhavi, that's very good. End of darkness is light. Shikha, okay, very good. Nuzat, also good. Ah, Neeraj, I like the, okay, Neeraj, completely fine. Perfect. Vipul, very good. Ilbetros and Shirshak, very good. Shariba, yes, Shariba. Divyam, nicely done. Very good. Bhagyashri, keep a humble spirit, Bhagyashri, but where is the quote? Payal, very good. That's a good one right there. Nancy, also good. Happiness, only reason when shared. Ritvik, okay, Ritvik, but we have to move beyond the context of the examination, right? We're talking about really universal fundamental things here. Omkar, very good. Pandemic again. Ravanan, very good. Palak, also good. Aryan, okay. Aryan, where's the quote? The quote isn't there. Hari Prasad, you have to use the quote somewhere. And in the context of being human, we've been talking about it since this class started. We have a lot of information about it. I want you to try and use that somewhere. Bhagya, very good. Okay. Roshan, Gayatri, Gayatri, the quote isn't there. Manasvi, Suraj, okay, you're going to go through that. Sayan, that's good. You've used the code, you put it in brackets, very good. Amit, I see your response, very good. Harshul, nice. Ramkrishna, Monica is saying something. Yes, Monica, that's acceptable. Sunny, okay. Unconquerable soul, okay. Adya, Shakti, uh, Shakti, I don't know the person you're talking to, and I doubt many people know who that was. So just don't use obscure references. Human beings get criticism. Yes, you're saying Muskan. Okay, very good. Rajat, very good. Abbas Kashani, very good. I appreciate everybody who tries. If you try, if you're attempting this stuff, you've already won half the battle. It's because your brain will start processing it. It takes a bit of time. Dheeraj, very good. takes a bit of time to actually begin to get good at this stuff. A bit of time, but not too much. And the fact that you're engaging right now, that you're interacting, that you're actually attempting is proof that you will get there. If you keep doing it, you will get there. Very good. Prashant, very good. Yes, you are doing very well, I know. Vidya, very good. Harshit, okay, very good. There is going to be an opportunity. Everybody, I will read everything that you write. Just wait, it is coming up next. Okay, you can stop your responses. Utkarsh, noted, seen it. Very good. Aman, very good. Okay. You guys stop now. Very nice. Manisha, I see it. Very nice. Very nice. Are you ready for your assignment? Are you ready for your assignment? Here is your assignment. This is the topic we've been talking about. You deconstructed it. You have done brainstorming about it. You have understood the opposite sides of the argument. You know a lot about this. You saw a visual essay about it. You just used quotes in that essay. You just heard a poem about this. I want you now to write that essay. It is now time to actually write the essay. I will give you, topic is not visible. Now it very well will be. But I'm going to send that email. I'll send this email to every one of you, and you will have this written there. But I will not mention the topic in your email. I want you to go through this masterclass. I mean, you've been through it, but other people haven't. But they need to go through the process and actually learn some of the stuff I've told them before they can get here and write it. Because there's no point correcting them and going through the reason I walked you guys through all of this. The reason I walked you guys through the entire process before I could come to the point where I was feeling confident enough for you to write an essay about this stuff is that there are some basic things which I know you're going to commit, but now you won't, because now you know, right? You're going to be in a much better position to write. But I want to warn you about something. It is not going to be perfect. It will take some time. Already, you have crossed a massive barrier. You have understood things which people do not understand in their entire lifetimes. You have understood logic and beauty and how they go together. You have understood how arguments are not opinions. You have understood how to present them, how not to present them. I hope that the 10th man and the devil's advocate is always now somewhere inside you. Always. Always. You hear this, you will always have that voice inside your head telling you to stop before you put an opinion. Stop believing everything that is ever said to you and analyze it for yourself. Do the critical thinking. This is what the UPSC wants from you. What do you think about it? They're going to mine it out and they will not let you in. They will not let you in until it is proven and shown to them. That happens in the interview mostly, but now with the ethics paper and all those other things, definitely it happens pretty extensively. And this is what I've been trying to tell you. So that's your assignment. And now we have come full circle. I told you in the beginning, it was going to be quite an experience and that it was a testable hypothesis that I was going to put across. Do you feel now that you have the potential to do this? Have you found through this experience some potential in you, some spark in you? Have you noticed that I did not give you any points? I just showed you some videos. You did not have to read a book. Everything kept emerging from you, inside you only. I didn't do anything. I just kept nudging you, either through a video or through visuals or through exercises. You did all of it yourself. This topic that you have to write on, being human versus being human, already very much inside you. There is no need to go through a very detailed explanation, a very detailed analysis. You don't need to become a philosopher or an ethicist. Everything that you need to do this is with you, okay? I need you to have confidence in yourself. And in fact, this is what happens. This is what actually happens. And it has happened once before. A couple of months ago, I conducted a 3-week super course. I mean, Mitrapal sir conducted it. I lectured on it, like I'm doing this now. We had 3 master classes in that super course, and I wish I could do that again, but I don't know if I will be able to or if it's possible. But what I have done now is probably 10% of what we did then. There were very few students, very selected students, because I'm selective about who I teach. And we had this transformative experience. It lasted 3 weeks, a lot of assignments, a lot of writing. We had we had a masterclass on three Sundays like this one, consecutive. And at the end of those 3 weeks, many people actually felt transformed. And I felt transformed. I literally had that transformative experience myself. And what we did was in the first masterclass that we did, we went through dimensions in detail, right? So you see, there are dimensions. I call them steppy dimensions. Uh, there is always the spiritual dimension to consider, ethical dimension, temporal dimension, philosophical dimension, psychological dimension, and the ethical dimension. You know, and all these dimensions, they require a lot of time to analyze and to actually explain in a way that gets internalized. We did that in the first class. Absolutely amazing experience that we had, and I mean, I can't really explain how it was because you would have to be there to experience it. The second masterclass we did was about argumentation, and we didn't just talk about argumentation. We had debates. We listened to debates from the Oxford University Union, which is the I think the world's best uh, debating platform. All the professional debaters in the world are invited there to speak. We had debates and we were analyzing those debates about where this person is going to get blasted off and where this person is going to get counterattack. We were doing that exercise and we did that for quite a while until pretty much everybody got so good at it that before you even present your argument, they will point out the mistake that you are making and they will attack your premise. And that happened in one class, and of course some practice that they did, but it happened, and it happened resulted in a permanent change in the way thinking is. In the third masterclass, in the third masterclass, it was all about beauty. We spent a full masterclass on the topic of beauty. I spent a lot of time curating those videos, sharing it with them, explaining them those videos and how we can take from all this content and add beauty to our writing. Because you see, we can't go through a complete, we can't become poets, right? And we're not supposed to. We're not supposed to become writers as well. What we're supposed to become and what we want to become are civil servants. And you want to get into that job, right? You want to get into that mold. You want that profession to be yours. And that requires you to clear this examination. But this examination requires you to feel like you need to do a lot in a very short amount of time. And so it's also a test of your intelligence as much as it is of your knowledge. And by intelligence, I mean how well can you strategize, how well can you plan, how quickly can you structure these open-ended tasks. They leave you with an open-ended type of a syllabus, and you're supposed to structure it and put it down and just get through it so that by the time the examination comes, you're better off than everybody else. It's a relative examination, it's competitive. And so all of these having been done, having been said, brings me to the point that I don't know about you, but I had a very good experience. You can request, yes, I see your question. You can request Mitrapal sir for more of such sessions if he can do it. Ask him. And this brings me to closure. This brings me to the point where I feel like my job is done. I have tried to give you everything I could in a very, very condensed format in the time that I could, in the capacity that I could. I hope that you have learned a lot from this. I hope that it has helped you, benefited you to the greatest degree possible. I was planning a question answer session, but there is just simply no time for it. We have crossed the threshold. I will share all these things to you. Remember, your assignment is to write a 1,000-word essay on that essay topic, and you are supposed to email that to me. Okay, it needs to be emailed to me. Now, coming to the end, we may not meet each other again. We may never do this type of a session again. I don't know, but I want to leave you with something. I want to leave you with an anthem. Anthem. An anthem is something like a mantra, but more powerful than a mantra. In the beginning, Jason Selva said something about incantations and how words are incantations. You are a UPSC, you're a civil servant aspirant. You want to become a civil servant. So you represent one of the most motivated people, and I suppose one of the brightest people in this country. And you've chosen a hard thing to do. You've chosen a difficult task to accomplish. I want to leave you with an anthem which will stay with you forever. You will never forget it. And it is the only message. If there was one thing that I had to say to you, and if I never met you again, it would be this thing. So I'm going to just play that for you. This will be the last thing I show you. And after that, I'm signing off. And let me just share this really quickly. This is a poem by a poet called Charles Bukowski. It's a very powerful poem, and it's pretty self-explanatory. And this is the anthem I want you to have.
If you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind. Go all the way. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean derision, mockery, isolation. Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it, despite rejection and the worst odds. And it will be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that.
This brings me to the end. All good things must end, and so does this class now. I hope that you've learned a lot. I hope that it has expanded your mind. I hope that you're better off than you were a couple of hours ago as a human being, as a person, as an aspirant. I'll see you later. Goodbye.